I'm glad you brought up layoffs. I mean, as a career coach, I'm already seeing it in the Mandi Moneymakers. And it's one of the reasons why, yeah, I mean, not huge numbers, but certainly some people in our community have been laid off this in the past few months. Now, one was laid off in August and already has a great job earning more than she was getting paid from the job that laid her off. It took her 2 months, 2.5 months, I think. So it was a long wait, but she was able to bounce back. So I think it's like what I'm seeing is, yes, layoffs are happening and it's just par for the course. You know, I really approach career coaching from a realistic position of layoffs happen. I think if you're going to have a long career, it's probably going to happen to you at some point. I have been laid off myself. And the message for me is always career resiliency. Like, how can you create professional resiliency so that you have like a network who can support you if you need support, if you're to be laid off. So people who you can reach out to and let them know, I'm open to an opportunity. And because of the like relationships that you've built and the reputation that you have in your field, that you'll be able to bounce back a little bit more quickly than if you're starting cold. We're going to be seeing, and this is heading into the fourth quarter. We're already in the fourth quarter. Layoffs are really common before the holidays. So I mean, realistically, you should absolutely be preparing for what happens if you were to be laid off. So I would be, and a lot of the same practices that can help you prepare professionally can also help you financially. So, you know, get your emergency funds shored up, cut back on expenses if you can. You know, of course, dust off that resume and be looking. You know, take interview opportunities as they come to you, and keep your networks fresh and warm. So, you know, look for opportunities to connect to former colleagues and peers in your network and let them know what you're interested in. And certainly if you're hearing whispers, you know, some of these layoffs don't happen out of nowhere. You hear whispers at your company, and some companies tell you, you know, like they have the hiring freezes and hiring pauses. That's a good indication. Potentially layoffs could happen if these freezes are not enough. So what can you do to bounce back, and how can you use your network to do that?
So I have a question. So Mandi, because you told me it took her 2 months on average, when things are not bad, how long are typically people, or your Mandi Moneymakers, how long have they, like if they lost their job, how long before they replaced it typically?
Yeah, well, I've only seen, I think, 3 Mandi Moneymakers. So it's not a huge statistical sample, but 3 Mandi Moneymakers have been laid off since August. Okay. And one worked in HR, one worked for a big health coaching, like a kind of like Uber for fitness coaching. Okay. A company called Noom, and then another.
Noom. Yes.
Yeah. She was in like diversity equity. It's these like HR roles, the 2 that I've had. And then I forget where the third one works. I need to go back and check. But like I said, the first one who was laid off, actually, she was only laid off 3 months after joining the company, which same thing happened to me. Last one hired, first one fired, you know, tale as old as time. She was laid off in August, and she had 2 interviews going at 2 good job prospects going at the same time, dragging their feet, because I do think at companies you're seeing a lot of uncertainty. And even if you had like headcount approved for open roles, I think recruiters and HR are still getting mixed signals, probably from higher ups, on can we fill this headcount? You know, one of my Mandi Moneymakers is at a big Silicon Valley company right now that you all would know, and she is interviewing, or was interviewing rather, at Amazon, and then her hiring process was put on hold. So, yeah, which is, you know, luckily she has a great job to shelter in, but I'm definitely seeing it happen. And the first one that I mentioned that was laid off in August, she just got a great new job in October. So it took her 2.5 months or so. So I think what you said about jobs sort of lagging what's happening in the market is true. I think we have to take a realistic look at it. And what gives me hope is that, yes, layoffs are happening, but I'm also seeing that people are finding those opportunities. And the second one who I mentioned who got laid off from the health coaching company, she's had interviews at great firms, and she's really, you know, optimistic. And both of these women have been executing everything that they've learned through the Mandi Moneymakers, you know, really leveraging their networks, not being shy about posting on LinkedIn, even about their journey post layoff, you know, how it's been going and what they're seeing. And, but it's a reality. So I definitely think that, we should be, if you're working 9 to 5, that this is one of those times where it's like, okay, what am I doing to create more resiliency so that
Yes.
when
Something,
this
yeah.
happens,
Yeah. So I just think that I'm glad that, they get to kind of come along the ride with us as we like navigate this, because I love in real time hearing, like, even though I know it's not this large cross section of the Mandy money makers, but it's real life happening to real people that we get to see like what's happening when it comes to the
yeah,
job market. How long did it take? And then too, I think one of the biggest takeaways is like, look what happens when you actually have help
yeah,
navigating that space versus maybe if, maybe it would have been 4 months or 5 months if she was
yeah,
out
and
here alone instead of
support
getting the
and not
coaching.
feeling absolutely, and like the support
Yeah.
of having a place you
Yeah.
can go and say, y'all, I got laid off today. I'm kind of freaking out.
Yes.
And, it's been really wonderful to see the makers kind of just cover these women and cover their fellow makers. Um, this is my first recession as a business owner. So I'm even thinking, am I going to sink this much into my solo 401k, or should I keep more cash, in my reserves this year? Yeah,
Well, we can talk about it because honestly, like I've been prepared, honey. Like
hmm
I was like during COVID, I was freaked out. I was like, we had 1 month worth of emergency savings. And I said, this not enough. So now all of my companies have 6 months of emergency savings. And well, we're going to talk because, like I said, I think there's so much stuff that we could do to prepare, but we also have pivot plans of like, I call it going to the bank. I tell us to all like my mentees and my mentor, Tiffany, .com is that like, you should have this thing where I call it where it's like, you have your regular business model, but if stuff is, the young people say, if shit gets thick, then I can go to the bank. And sometimes going to the bank is like, I can do consulting. Like, for example, for me personally, I know that if I wanted, I could do one-on-one consulting and make quite a bit of money. I don't particularly want to do one-on-one consulting, but if things got really bad, that's the bank for the Budgetnista. Back when I first started the Budgetnista, the bank was babysitting and tutoring. It was like, oh my gosh, the Budgetnista made no money, but that's okay. I babysat and tutored to make money instantly. And so I think every business owner should have some ways, even if it's not ways that you're currently doing, that you could tap into that bank and say, if I had to, I could do this, 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 this. Like, I know you don't particularly like editing, being an editor anymore, but if you had to, you could do
Take me
that
back.
and make some, right? You can make some coin in the meantime.
I didn't burn those bridges on the way out.
Exactly. That's why it's important.
Yep.
So no, but this is good. I mean, I just think, well, by the time you guys hear this episode, officially voting will be over.
Ah, try not
I
to think about it.
know,
I'm so scared.
I know. But I mean, here's the thing. I told myself, regardless of what happens, life moves on. Meaning that you have to, whether it's a Republican House, Senate, that like you will have to learn to navigate, whether it's all Democrat, you'd have to learn to navigate. And that's how life looks like, it's so cyclical and you will manage and we will, the key is with the tools available to me, how do I make the most of it? And that's all that can be asked of you. So, just keep that in mind that like, there have been worse that's happened and there have been better that's happened. And either way, you're still here. So.
Absolutely. And it's like a Buddhist way of looking at things, that in life there are intense moments of joy and ups and everyone's making money and it's all great. And then you also have to be ready for the other foot to drop. And I think that it's not pessimism, it's realism. And that's what I like to bring to the table. But there's still room to be optimistic. It's just about,
Yes.
okay, let's be optimistic and cautiously optimistic moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah,
And plan either way.
absolutely.
Hey, BA fam, we're on YouTube. Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And while you're at it, why don't you go over to that little bell icon and just tap that for us. Show the BA fam how much you love us. And that way you'll also get notifications when new videos drop. Also, share the channel with a friend. We're always like, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And thank y'all so much again for all the support.